Sherlock Holmes in Love. Ricardo, a 25-year-old Brazilian from Campinas, was a bookworm. His small, cozy room was filled with shelves groaning under the weight of paperbacks, most of them mystery novels. His particular favorite was Sherlock Holmes, the fictional detective created by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Every evening, after closing the small bookstore where he worked, Ricardo would curl up with a cup of tea and lose himself in the world of 221B, Baker Street. Today was no different. The morning sun streamed through his bedroom window, casting long shadows on the walls. Ricardo stretched and yawned, the smell of fresh coffee drifting up from the kitchen below. His mother, a warm and loving woman, had already made breakfast. After a quick meal, he hopped on his bike and pedaled through the bustling streets of Campinas towards the bookstore. The bookstore was a haven for book lovers like Ricardo. Its shelves were filled with books on every subject imaginable, from classic literature to the latest bestsellers. Ricardo loved his job. It allowed him to spend his days surrounded by the things he loved most. As he was organizing a new shipment of books, a young woman approached him. "Excuse me," she said, her voice soft. "I'm looking for a good mystery novel. I've heard so much about Sherlock Holmes, but I don't know where to start." Ricardo's eyes lit up. "You've come to the right place," he replied. "If you're new to Sherlock Holmes, I would recommend starting with A Study in Scarlet. It's a classic, and it introduces you to Holmes and Watson in a really engaging way." The woman nodded and smiled. "Thank you. I'll take it." As she was paying for the book, they struck up a conversation about their favorite authors and genres. Ricardo learned that her name was Anna, and that she was a teacher. They discovered that they shared a love of classic literature and a fascination with the human mind. "Would you like to meet up sometime to discuss books further?" Ricardo asked. "I know a great little coffee shop downtown." Anna hesitated for a moment, then smiled. "I'd like that very much," she replied. "How about this weekend?" They exchanged phone numbers, and Ricardo couldn't help but feel a flutter of excitement. Perhaps this was the start of something special. The Little London Cafe was a hidden gem in an old neighborhood of Campinas. With its flowery garden and a bright red facade, the cafe transported its customers straight to the streets of London. The interior was even more charming, with walls adorned with posters of classic British films, miniatures of Big Ben, and even a red telephone booth. On each table, there was a magnifying glass with the inscription Elementary, an obvious reference to the famous detective. Ricardo arrived at the cafe on his mountain bike, parking it in front of the establishment. Shortly after, Anna arrived in an Uber, smiling from ear to ear. Upon meeting, they greeted each other with a warm hug and entered the cafe. As they chose a table, Ricardo couldn't help but notice Anna's enthusiasm for exploring the decor. "It's amazing how they managed to recreate the atmosphere of London here," she exclaimed. Ricardo agreed, feeling more and more at ease in her company. They ordered the waiter, a young man with a slightly exaggerated British accent, a coffee with milk and a chicken and palm heart pastry for Ricardo, and a cappuccino and a slice of strawberry pie for Anna. While they waited for their orders, they talked about the book Anna had bought. "I'm loving A Study in Scarlet," she said. "Sherlock Holmes is so intelligent and observant. I can never guess who the culprit is before he does." Ricardo smiled. "I know," right? That's why his books are so addictive. The conversation flowed naturally, and soon they were talking about their dreams and aspirations. Both revealed that they were studying English by watching videos of stories and tales on YouTube. My dream is to one day visit London and see the Sherlock Holmes Museum, Anna confessed. Ricardo was surprised. Me too. I've always wanted to see 221B, Baker Street. After coffee, Anna decided to walk home, and Ricardo accompanied her, pushing his bike. As they walked, they continued talking about books, movies, and their plans for the future. Ricardo couldn't stop thinking about how connected he felt to Anna. He knew he wanted to see her again. At Anna's door, they said goodbye with a warm hug. "It was great meeting you, Ricardo," she said, smiling. "See you next weekend." Ricardo went home with a smile on his face. He couldn't stop thinking about Anna and his dreams of visiting London. Determined to make this dream a reality, he decided to dedicate himself even more to studying English. After all, nothing would be more exciting than exploring the city of Sherlock Holmes alongside the woman who shared his passion for books and adventure.